Hey, what's going on? Logan Henry here, finishing up an on-the-go morning routine. And as I'm finishing up, I'm thinking back to about a week or so ago, I saw a podcast with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And halfway through the podcast host had asked, he said, I'm curious, Arnold, why is it that you still work out? And, Arnold just kind of looked at him with a blank stare, and he's like, it's the same reason I slept 10 years ago. I don't stop sleeping today. I still sleep. I ate breakfast 10 years ago. I still eat breakfast. So it's the same thing with training. That's an awful accent. But he said it's the same thing with training. It's part of his life. It's part of who he is. Now, why in the world do I bring this up to you? Well, oftentimes, when clients come to me, typically high performers over 40 who have spent a lot of their life, putting all the chips in terms of work and doing the best they can to balance family at the same time, but with all those obligations, their health has been on the back burner. And they may have put forth some effort and certain methods and routines before to try to resolve it, try to get their energy back, try to make sure that they're proud of the guy they see staring in the mirror, get the clothes to fit better, those kind of things. And even with that effort that they put forth, there's a common theme that they'll say to me that they really want to make happen, aside from getting the results, but they finally want the results to be sustainable. And it can be really frustrating when you do routines and you do methods and everything that where you end up almost on this roller coaster of weight loss. You get the weight off, and also something comes in your world, you put it back on. And especially if you've done something before that maybe wasn't that efficient, or maybe you loathed the process, it made it much harder to be sustainable, right? You want something that's sustainable. Number one, make sure you don't hate the process. Number two, make sure you don't stop. I know that sounds kind of like common sense, right? But think about what I just said about Arnold, right? Because oftentimes people always think that I need this tool, I need this routine, I need this method. There's a lot of good things out here. You gotta pick up the right skill set and knowledge and be able to apply that knowledge, right? But aside from picking up the skill set and applying that knowledge, it is who you must be forever. I know that sounds scary, but if you think of Arnold, right, and everything that he's done in his life, and yet he's still at 76, 77 years old, is still working out, just as he did in his younger years. He has no bodybuilding competitions to train for, he has nothing to train for, he's just doing it because it's part of who he is. And so if you're a guy who has found himself on the start-stop train, or is maybe found himself getting results, and maybe you found something that works, but for some reason things weren't sustainable, and it wasn't maybe necessarily the method, but you're questioning, why couldn't I stick with it? Well, my invitation for you is to start looking at yourself. Start thinking to yourself, instead of going after this thing for an 8-week stint to get ready for vacation, or a 90-day thing over here to just feel this way, ask yourself, how can I start training for life? How can I allow this to become part of who I am? So find something that's simple, satisfying, and sustainable that you don't mind doing consistently, persistently, and frequently. Just like Arnold's found his thing, find your thing and be able to put it in play consistently and let it become part of who you are. Most people will be like, well, hey, I want to get to this goal so that I can feel good, later on in the day, have more energy, or wake up and be on fire, or take my shirt off and feel like $1 million. All those things are good. But if you want things to last and you want to stay consistent with it, consider not always attaching something to it. Consider not always attaching a meaning to it. Just say, hey, it's part of who I am. I get up every single morning. I'm a guy who puts myself first, and then I move on in my day, and that's just part of my routine. That's at least part of my routine that I'm doing right now. Arnold's found his. I encourage you to find yours so that you can get results and help them be sustainable. If you're a guy over 40 who's a high performer and you've maybe put forth some valid effort, but you are looking for more sustainability. You're looking for a plan to kind of, if you feel like almost in a sense you're a boat without a rudder and you kind of want to get off the lost train and you want to find something that you can actually put into your life that can be sustainable and you can implement, then consider heading over to check out my book, Regain Your Edge, and you can grab a copy of that over at www.logan-henry.com/regain your edge. If not, that's totally cool, but otherwise, just find something in your world that can be simple, satisfying, and most importantly, if you want it to be sustainable, let it become who you are. Train for life. Logan, until next time, I'm out.